Hey everyone, it's Tommy back again doing another review. However, I don't have anything in my hands, so what am I reviewing? Well, I've had so many questions about my personal videos and what pads I'm wearing, I'm going to do a little bit of a preview review, if you will. So, as you can see behind me right here, and as you have probably seen in my personal videos, I got my new Reebok XLTs in. So, I've had so many questions about them. I don't feel comfortable doing a review yet. Give me a couple weeks yet. I still want to use them, 5 to 15 more times before I give a really honest and objective review. But I'll run through the gear, and I'll run through my initial reactions and any modifications I've made already. So, let's get started. So of course the biggest questions I usually get are about the leg pads, and that's understandable. They cost a lot of money. So these are 35 plus 2, and if you remember back to my CCMs, those were 36 plus 1. And in fact, what I'll do here is I'll actually compare them and put them side by side so you can see just how tall they are. So they should be the same size. I'm going to put them together here. This is sort of unscientific, but you can see here they're approximately the same size. And that's how they should be. These are supposed to be 35 plus 2. These are 36 plus 1. Now, here's the very interesting part. I'm going to turn these around and show you something on the inside. Now again, remember, 35 plus 2, 36 plus 1. I'm going to put these together right here. And I'm going to lift them up so you can see right here. The knees are maybe a quarter to a half an inch different. Even though these are 36 plus 1, these are 35 plus 2. So again, as you can see here, the knees are in almost the exact same position despite the XLTs being a different size than my old CCMs. I've already made a major modification to these XLTs. And if I take these and put these over a little bit, you can probably see I actually took out this entire knee area. The entire thing, I ripped it out. And here's the reason why. When I got it, I ordered the soft. And when I got it, the foam was huge. It was easily probably close to a half an inch. And I wear those really oversized knee guards typically. So what ends up happening here is my knee guards no longer land on the landing gear. So I just decided, and I've always thought about doing this anyway, hey, can I take that out? And yes, you can. So I went ahead and made some snips, very carefully of course, and I just took that on out. So that's really worked out really well. I get really nice rotation. Everything is still comfortable. I really like this. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. I don't recommend other people doing it, but I really like it. Now I want to stay with the back of the pad for a second because if you see here, this is a very closed leg channel. And I'm used to a more open leg channel, and there are actually several kinds of open leg channels from Reebok for the XLT pad. One of them doesn't have anything here at all, and that's more of the early 2000 style pad. And then there's the one that's more reduced, and that's more of the modern style. And then there's a very close style, which is more of the one that Carey Price and others wear if you want really good positioning and control over your pad. And as I get older and I'm starting to read plays even better and my reaction time is still there, I really like that control of the pad. So I like this closed leg channel and to do it up pretty tight, and that way I get really nice control out of it. Now this is another area where I get a lot of questions about what kind of specs I get on my pads. I prefer the shallow, stiff boot. And the reason for that is I like this to sit up on my skates, and that way I get a little more pad area in my 5-hole. So it's not for everyone, but I like to set it up very much on my skate, get that nice size, get some really good rotation here, so I get the shallow stiff boot. At the same time, you can see here I leave a lot of slack on my toe ties. I think if I measure it between where it connects down here on the toe bridge up to the knot, it's somewhere between 3 and 4 inches. So it's quite a large one. That's mostly due to some ankle injuries that I've had since college. Now as you can see, the strapping is the exact same as my CCM, other than it not being adjustable anymore. I know that I liked fixed strapping, so I'm okay with getting it fixed, and then eventually I'll cut down the straps just like I did on my CCMs. So up here we have the single below knee strap, and then we have 2 calf straps. For those of you who care, right now how I'm strapping these is 5, 4, 3, and then the boot strap is a 1. And again, that's because I have some ankle injuries, so you might want that one a little bit tighter. So that's from the ends out here, 5, 4, 3. And that way, what this does is, this one is not really that tight even at 5. I get really good rotation. This one being a 4, that one is the one that is mostly keeping it to my leg. And then 3, that one's very loose. I don't need a lot there. And then again, I do this carry price strapping so that it goes down, goes about to where it is right now. And then this strap on the inside, this will go about in the middle here. Again, that's pretty tight around my calf. So when it comes to angles and breaks, I don't like my pads to be too flexible. So what I do is I get a single internal and external break below the knee, and then I get the straight angle up here. So it's not the pre-curve version. I've had the pre-curve, and in my opinion, it looks a little bit funny, but that's up to your personal preference. And in my opinion, if you get this, the double internal and external break, it ends up being a little too flexible. Now back in college, I did have P1s that had 2 internal breaks and no external, and that was okay. But I've really enjoyed having just the internal and external break underneath the knee, and that's how I had on my CCMs too. And that way I get really nice closure of the 5-hole, and this stays very stiff. Now if you've seen my review of the CCM blocker, well, you're pretty much looking at it again. So the XLT blocker is not that different than the CCM blocker. This does have the bindingless, unlike the old P4, but their CCM did have a bindingless blocker. There are some updated materials in the grip area, so that's nice. But otherwise, there's not really a whole lot of change. Now, as far as modifications go, the only modification I use to my blocker is I take out this little string here. That way I get some really nice mobility. And arguably, I also modify this section up here where your stick goes. It's actually held in there. Not only is it tightened in there with some string, but it also has some Velcro. So what I do is I actually unvelcro it a little bit, and then I sort of jam it up and reapply it, and that way it gets in there really nice and that stays out of your way. So you still get the protection without it getting in the way of the stick. Now as far as the balance of the blocker goes, this is a typical Reebok and CCM blocker. I'm going to hold it out here, and I know this probably doesn't help you a whole lot, but it balances really nicely. Sometimes if you ever go to a retail store, try on a blocker and try to balance it. And sometimes you'll find that some blockers do that and other blockers will kind of go to the outside. Reebok blockers and CCM blockers tend to be perfectly balanced, and that's despite all of this padding that's on the inside. So that's really nice. And one other quick thing that I want to mention too is that they've really perfected this finger protection area. I've actually caught straight slap shots right here before, didn't hurt. And about a month ago, this is really interesting, I've never had this happen before, went down the butterfly, the puck comes in, whistle goes, had no idea where it went. It turns out I had actually caught the puck right here and I didn't even notice. So that protection is really good. That was off of a slap shot from a former college player. So really good protection even through this finger area and the side finger area. Last but not least is the glove. And this is a 580 break glove, so it is very different than the 600 glove that I've been using from the CCMs. With my P4s, I did also use a 580 glove, so it's something that I am used to and it's something I've used before, but it's definitely taken me a little bit to get used to, as you can probably see through some of the puck marks that are right there. And if you've been paying attention to some of my personal videos, you've seen a lot of pop-outs lately, unfortunately. So that's not the glove, that's me getting used to it again. As far as the feel of the glove, again, this is typical Reebok and CCM feel. Really nice feel. Now, one change that I did make, of course, if you remember back to that CCM video, I was kind of upset that they got rid of the quick strap. So the quick strap is on here for the XLTs, but I don't use it. And the reason why is I like my wrist really, really tight. That way it keeps my glove on, especially if I am, catching a really hard slapper. So I actually had to take that out because I didn't feel like I was getting enough leverage. So that's just personal preference, and it just comes right on out. You don't have to make any modifications to it. You just take it on out. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same as ones I've used before. There is a really nice benefit to this over the P4 The P4, I never quite felt like when I tried to put my glove down on a puck, sometimes it would squirt out the front here because you had to put pressure on your fingers as opposed to your heel, and I'm used to putting it on the heel of my hand. They have definitely fixed that issue with the XLTs, so now when I put my glove down over the puck, that creates a really nice seal. I know you probably can't really tell here because that still looks like a little bit of a lip area, but really it works out really nicely, and that conforms down to make that seal on the ice, and no pucks have squeaked out on me yet. So I hope that helps those of you who have been asking me about the XLTs to do a review. Again, the main review is not going to come for probably another 3-4 weeks, something like that. I like to use the pads a lot, and that way I get a really honest and objective view of the pads, and I can tell you more about how they have been used, how they've performed. And granted, my last game, it was a 12-0 shutout. I probably had 15, maybe 20 saves at the very most. Really nice. So far I'm 2-1 in the pads, so it's working out really nicely. They do play differently than the CCMs. These definitely cough out a lot bigger rebounds, and that's what they were made to do. So, but again, wait for 3 or 4 weeks. I'll give you guys a really nice review, but I just wanted to update you guys since I've had so many questions about them already. So if you do have any questions, let me know. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and I'll see you on the forum, and I'll see you on the ice. Good luck.